All right, guys, we'll get started. Okay, so I want to show you one more lecture on some of the very basic changes about web services. Um, as you can see, this time I did a little bit more faster than before because a lot of code were kind of assisted and generated. Um, but I still try to let you know the major steps behind it. Okay, the major component, especially last time we talked about any kind of web services use this kind of three-tier architecture. Okay, to recap, you got a front end web pages. That's the UI you see from the browser. Then you have a database where you manage all the data set. And then, but you don't want a friend and talk to the database directly because it's not very secure. It's not very efficient sometimes. So you need to have a middleman. It's a server program that connects to the database, manipulate the data, and then serve all the requests coming from front-end interface. Okay, the three tiers. It's very, very important. We talk about full stack development, which means the developer need to be able to handle every single the changes on every single layer. Okay, so last time I was showing you this little budget lunch project. So I already run it, and this is the UI we did. Okay, just show a budget maximum, and we'll give you all the um like little details. Okay, if we do $5, and then you only have two options. So pretty straightforward. And so today I want to do two things. Number one, I want to show you some of the changes. Okay, if I want to make another change, what is the process? Okay, what are the things do I need to do to go through that change? Since we talk about the full stack, normally the changes might involve with the changes from every different tier. Okay, that's one. And then secondly, I want to show you how do you connect this one with the real database, okay, which I did in demo last time. Okay, so let's focus on the first item, which is to make changes. This is so important once you guys have a code base set up, start work with your team, and obviously you guys are gonna do things in parallel. Everyone work on different kind of features, right? So you decide the list item and the feature you want to work on, you prioritize those, and then you start everyone pick different tasks to do. Okay, so this kind of represent a lot of your individual work once you work in the team. Okay, so I want to make a couple of changes. Number one, right now the items looks okay, but it doesn't show any images. It doesn't look very nice, right? So I want to add a little image to visualize the food item, just make it more attractive. So to make that change, so you go back to the code. All right, first of all, think about the database. Okay, everything comes from the data. You have to define the data, the model very clearly. So from the data point of view, right now, if you look at the data, a very little simple database we build, we don't have that attribute store, right? So that's why you can't really show it up. So I'm gonna give something called image URL. All right. And then I will just provide something. Okay. So this is a generated one. I don't know what that image is, but let me try it. Okay. So I guess it's just some kind of a dumb image. Yeah. So I'm going to use some kind of pizza, um, something like this. Copy the image URL. Hopefully that works. All right. And then same way. So here, and we need a salad. It's a little bit too large. I'll get a small one. Maybe this one here. All right. And then, yeah, this one is soda. Better. Finally, we got coffee. Oh, looks like they are trying to find some coffee images. No. Yeah. To make sure the URL works. Okay. So that's the first thing. Okay. So you change the database. All right. Now, once you have this, you also want to make sure, well, our like server program, as they return everything, does that provide the actual data? Now, if you look at the code here, it just add the whole thing, the whole food item to the list, so it should still work. Okay. But yeah, to verify that, let me just try to rerun the code. Okay. And I go to the URL. You're not going to see anything here because we haven't made it front end changes. But remember, we have this URL called a search. We go to $10. As you can see, this time, all the image URLs has been returned besides the name and price. Okay, so it looks like the database is changed, and then the server can also handle that. So the only thing left is that we want to show the UI, show the picture. So in order to do that, you have to go to the front end page. So we look at, obviously this is a part where you're going to show all the results. Okay, so it's kind of a division that you include everything, but you don't have anything until you make a call, get a request. So the magic happens right here. If you can see here, display the results. Once you got a food, what they do here, if you look at the code, is very self-explaining, right? So for every food, we're gonna do a for each loop. For every food, we're gonna add this little HTML code right here for a food item. Okay, so they have food name and food price. And now all we need to do is to get a image. Okay, so they kind of pretty much already figured out. So we do a food image and the image URL, that's the attributes. And yeah, we will put a little caption here. Okay, if I just make that simple change, okay, so this time if we go back here, we'll show this again, and we're gonna see the image as well. Okay, but obviously this, the size isn't very good, right? So I don't want to use AI all the time, but what you want to do is control the image size, right? So it is set HTML image, right? So you want to basically give some attributes. This may not be the best way to do it, but this one should be working. You do a width, you can do a specific like a number, maybe here. Okay, I'll just give a very specific attributes. Okay. Okay. I'll, this just to make it to by 42 by 42. All right, something like this. Okay, obviously you can play around more to make it more with a better ratio, everything looks nicer. Okay, so that maybe what if I only do this and I don't do a height? That might help. Yeah, I mean a little bit better. So they automatically scale this. All right, so that's a change. So, in the future, if you work with the company, with the team, someone, the development manager, are going to assign you a task. Okay, today your task is going to, add this image. And, as a full stack developer, now you see you go to the database, server, front end, make a change, test everything, and then you're done. Okay, that's one change. Let's make something more difficult. So maybe I want to have a way to be able to add new food items. Right now, it's just fixed, only four of them, right? And obviously, you know how to add it from here, from the code. Just add one more item. But what if I want to provide the UI for you to add it? Okay, so that change a little bit more difficult. So we don't have to change anything from database because you just need to add it. But what we need to do is that, as you can see, we want to have a function that we could start to add. Okay, food item. And then we need a name, price, and image URL. All right. And then all we need to do is just to add that, append that into the list. Okay, so we'll just use this one, just make sure it's efficient. Okay, so that's a list, and then we append one more item. We'll put the same attributes. Okay, and then we're done. Okay, return. Just make sure it's okay. All right, so that's how you do in function. But this one is working, but it doesn't really do anything. Okay, so we need to turn this into, remember, a URL so that you can call this function from at the server. Right now, this function works, but you can only call it in Python. In order to do that, we do app.route, and then you give things like add. Okay, and then you can provide a parameters. I'm going to use this one. So I'll use slash to give all the parameters, name, price, and image URL. This one might cause some issues because I don't know if we can put the URL in this way. But anyway, we're gonna try it, okay, see if it works. All right. The only thing here is the price is should be turned into a float. Okay. So let's try this. Again, you can always test all of this without using UI because these are just APIs you can just call. And so let's try this again. Wait, I think did, did I accidentally click on anything? All right. So I'll just test it with the URL. Okay, right now you can search for 10. That works. And I'm gonna add one more item. So I'll do add. I'll do uh, Panda Express. Price will be uh, I'll do 13. And then the URL. Okay, so I don't know if we can pass the URL. Get a simple one. Okay. All right, I'm gonna attach the URL right here. I can try that. Might work. Okay, so I hit enter. No, I think this one somehow mess it up. Uh, Why don't do the HTTP? Name, price, image URL. Let me rerun it. Make sure I pick up the new change. Okay, so it doesn't match it. Okay, so add name, price, and URL. Yeah, because again, the slash is here. Okay, that mess up everything. So I don't know if I can do a code. No. Yeah, that's obviously not the best way to add an image. So in that case, I would need to change that into some kind of like a input parameter. So I would do something like this. So I'll do a once you have this one, I do a question mark and then do an image URL equals to all the things, blah blah blah. That might work. Okay, so that's a different way to pass a parameter. You can do that through the slash the URL, or you can do this kind of a input parameter. So, but that one I gotta need some help to figure out how to do that. Okay, so um, so change the image URL into a HTTP input parameter through using question mark the URL. Okay, something like this. I think they can get what we want. All right, so we only provide name and price, but the image URL coming from the input parameter, something like this. Okay, so that should be the way we want. Okay, so let's try that. I'm gonna stop this one and then run it again. All right, so this time let me grab that URL, that whole thing, and hit enter. That actually gave me a okay. So once again, so I made one change here is that for the URL, this two input coming from the slash because it's really easy to write this way. The other one is very complicated, so that's why we indicate a different variable name, and then you do this way, and then that would take the whole thing as a value and then put that into the parameter, and then you can just grab the parameter by doing things like this. Now to verify it, we want to see search. If you do 10, you won't be able to see the panda, right? But then if you do 15, and you see the Panda Express right here. Okay, so that's how you can add this item into the page. All right, so this time we change the server program that allows us to be able to add a new item to the whole database. All right, but then you have an initial database. And then finally, you need a page to actually add everything to enable us to do it, right? So in this case, I think it's better just to create a new page to do it. So we will need to then create a new web page. All right. So maybe we can just duplicate this one. All right. And now rename this one. We'll call it add. Okay. So under we'll add one more to indicate this is like admin. Admin portal. Okay. Right here, we need some input boxes. So yeah, we can use similar things here. Yeah, as you can see, they kind of figured it out. And this one, I'll call it an add button. So under name, under price, enter the URL. Okay. So we don't need much of a results. All right. So let me actually test this front page first, make sure it can render. Okay. And then also we will need to have maybe we need to add another one here with the add. So it's an add.html, and this one here is add.html. Okay. All right. So rerun the server. Serve add. All right. So go back. Home page is this. We have a new page called slash add.html. All right, so then we got a admin portal that allows you to add different things. I just reuse all the styles. Here you put a name, price, and also the URL, and then you click on the add button. Right now it doesn't do anything. Okay, so once we click on the add button, so we will need to go to the JavaScript here just to do an add function. Okay, so that part I wanna ignore it because again, a lot of JavaScript code to write. But the idea is that you have a button which is this. You have a button here called add. Okay, so in the JavaScript, you can see whenever we click on that button, okay, and then we will just perform the you know what? Let's actually write it. So I'll add another listener. If you click on add, okay, I'm going to perform a function called add item, okay? And then what we need to do right here is the same thing. I think we can just duplicate this one. Yeah, add item. Okay, so they kind of figure it out. Okay, so add item is correspond to here is a listener. Okay, you click on the add button and then you run add function. So add function, you grab the name, price, and URL, and then you send it to this URL right here. Add // and then using the variable name and the value here, and you send it to the server, and then wait for the results. Okay, so here I think we still miss something. It's called a fetch. Oh, wait. Sorry, right here. Okay. One more time. This is grab the value. This is to call, and this is wait for the response. Once we got a response, we can see the results, which returns it okay, or something's wrong, give us error, right? So if it's okay, then we want to show something here. Yeah, so they already told us to just say that item added successfully. All right, so something like this. And then let's go here to try. So yeah, this one should be working. All right, we run the code. So we go to the add first. So this time we're gonna do the panda, okay? And let's press. And then this is 13. And the URL was, I'm gonna use this same thing. Add. Okay, doesn't look like it's successful. All right, so it looks like the code right here. Cannot find this item. Or did we mess up the syntax here? Let's see. Oh, or maybe because yeah, this one we might need to create a separate JavaScript file, okay? Because um, what happened is here they load this script file and then they're also trying to find the search and other things which we don't have, right? So we might need to put this one separately. Okay, so that's yeah, should probably do it. There had to be a better way to handle this one. Anyway, so I'm gonna copy and paste. So script for add. Okay, so that way we don't have to do this. We only do the add button, and also not this one. Actually, you know what? The price is fine. Perform search. We don't need this anymore. We only need add item. We don't need this one. All right, and then here we will import a different JavaScript. So all of these things I'm doing is the three things for the front end. Okay, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. A lot of work in your project, same thing. Most of your work probably will happen for the front end. Okay, so in the beginning there will be some learning curve, but once you understand the relationship, the syntax, everything, you will pick it up. Okay, so here I just want to make sure I import the right one, and I think the Python we also need to make sure we can serve those. As you can see, just like this. All right, let's try this one more time. Run the server. I'm gonna refresh this one. The URL. Add. All right, so this is fun, but then they're expecting to see a JSON file. So we should maybe just change this one. It doesn't matter about the JSON. So right here, um, I think we can I can just get rid of this one. Okay, let me try this again. All right, so that works. So it said item added successfully, right? And then I go back here to the main page. All right, so now I do 15 and they have panda. All right, so yeah, it have two because I think the first one was added, but the message showed wrong, but then I added one more time. Okay, so if I add one more, like and super, like this one would be the higher, and then it was added. So refresh, if I do 13, and then you have two. If I do 20, and you're gonna have one more option here. Okay, so from here, you made another change. Okay, all the way from backend, sorry, database, backend server, and then the front end changes. Okay. So really keep in mind this is three tier, very important. That's how they always talk to each other through the server side, the middle tier. Okay. Any questions? All right. So now the problem is that everything is local. Okay, this is not a professional database we've been using here. All right. So if I stop the program, I rerun this, I come back here, I do 20, and the panda is gone because I really didn't persist it. Okay, so obviously you need that's the reason you need a database. Even using a local file to store all the information, you won't lose it, right? But the file is not very efficient in terms of managing all the large number of data. So we need a professional databases. I told you a lot of different options before. In the past, our students just hosting like a MySQL. Okay, that's a very famous open source for free database. They run a SQL server, very famous one. Okay, new days people use like a NoSQL database. Some of the things called a MongoDB. You probably heard about this one. And then they actually have a pretty good like a cloud environment to host everything. Okay, so the NoSQL database means that they just store everything with the key value pairs, like the hash table. Okay, this is a more trending. Okay, so a lot of new applications use this one because they use a hash table. It's more efficient. It's faster to query to operate everything. Okay, so but then when you choose the database, you also need to think about where to host it. One thing you can do is to run a local database. It's a separate program. You can just run it locally. The better way is that you just use some kind of cloud server to run the database in the server in the cloud so that your program don't need to worry about the server of the database. And also, this is useful as you work with the team. For example, you guys are all working on the same code base. You want to share that data, share that database. So you better to set up a kind of cloud-based database system so that you can all like interact with it. Okay. So I'm going to show you some of the options, okay? And in the past, I did demo the ones with the MongoDB, so I want to try something new. There's something called a Superbase, okay? Had anyone used this one before? Yeah, a couple of you, right? If you've done some kind of development, I think this one getting a little bit popular. The alternative for this one is Firebase. Okay, this is more famous from, and then it was acquired by Google. But I actually also found the Firebase getting a little bit too heavy. Also, it's within the Google's whole like development framework. It's getting a little bit more harder to use. And some of students suggest the Superbase. Actually, I tried this. It's pretty good. I only did it once. Okay. So what it does is that you can log in, sign up. It's all for free, and then you create your project here. You have organization, and then you can do a new project. Okay. Let me try this one. I haven't tried this for a long time. I'll call it CS4800 fall 2025. All right. And then database password. Okay, I'm gonna do it must be strong. Let me generate one. Okay. So I'll just copy it somewhere here. All right. And then the region where you want to serve it, I'll put it on the west, so closer to us, so it's faster. Okay. So I will let me see other security option, API connection string. Let's do that. And yeah, this one's I'll just leave it as default. Okay, let's create a new project. So this process will create a database in their server, in the Superbase server, so that our program can actually connect to it. All right, looks like this one should be done. And yeah, they give you a little like a tutorial here. These are things that you might need later on to set up all your like a connection keys and strings and everything. Let me actually copy this. Okay, I think I can still see those later on, but let me just copy it anyway. The API key. All right. And then they actually showed you how you can connect to the database using different languages. Here they showed you the JavaScript and Dart. But um, we want to see the one with Python. Okay. All right. So with Python, yeah. Well, first of all, what I need to do now is that since I have this code here, I have this database. Okay, we're gonna start from the add function. Right now, the add function just added to the local like list. Okay, this is very naive. Okay, I'm gonna add another function. Um, or you know what? I'll just make a copy. Sorry, I'll just make a file, a copy, and just as a backup. Okay, this one I'll call it a local DB. All right. And I'm going to start making the file changes here to turn it into a professional DB. So instead of using all of this, I need to change this one into add the item to the super base database. All right. They kind of pretty much figure out that whole structure to call. You will need to call this a super base and then figure out a table and then some specific table to use. I'll call it a lunch DB, and then insert the same kind of things. But now you have to import the library first. Okay, so you have to import the super base library. Let's put that one here. And obviously we need to do pip install super base. Okay. All right. All right. So this Python library allows you to use Python to interact with the database. That's what they do. Okay. And then you have to specify the the keys and URLs. Okay. So they do this one here. And let's set it up. Um, the clone, super base clone. Okay, so that this syntax looks very weird. This is a Python? What does it mean? Is anybody defining a type? Oh, okay. So that's the new thing they added, right? Yeah. Okay. I never seen that. Okay, so what I will do is because I have all the keys, okay. All right, so this one I'll just put it right here so it's easier to do. Okay. So to connect to the database, okay, so you need to know the address and also the password, the key. Okay. All right. And then from there, you actually create a super base the client. Okay. Yeah, now it makes sense. The colon just here, that's the type. All right. So with the super base, now you can here go to here and then specify the table and insert things. I don't know if we need to create a table. Okay, so let me see. Uh, let's try to run this one first. Okay, and finally you need to do execute. All right. So we just make one change this time. We use a super basic client to to make um, to access the table and insert this item. Now, if you can always watch our database here. Go back to the dashboard and find out your database. All right. Right now we don't have any table. You can have this table editor, and you can start to create a table. Let me just create it to save, okay, to be safe because I don't feel that one is all of this. And then you could specify the columns. I don't think we need to do that. Okay, they should be able to figure it out automatically. Let's try this. I'll just have ID and create the timestamp. Just create a table. All right. And then you can just later on view all the data here. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here and rerun the code. All right. And then I can obviously still test it with my UI here. Okay, let me use the same thing. So Panda Express 1399. Here the URL. I click on add. All right, so something is wrong. If you see that internal server error, that means your server code has something wrong. You all need to do go back here to check the error. Okay, let's see what happens. So obviously they start to call that function, and then As you can see, could not find image URL column here. Oh yeah, so looks like we do need to define that schema. Okay, I don't know if that's really needed or there's a way to do that without defining those. Um, yeah, because this one, I think they still follow some kind of this old-fashioned, the SQL structure. So you have to define everything. Uh, then let's try that. Okay, so go back to table editor, and how do I define those? Yeah, we just in the add. So image URL, and the type is a string, right? So it's a text, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a text. So that is one. And obviously we need a name, and also we also need name, which is also a string, and price. That should be a number. All right, so let's try this. So we don't need to change anything. All we need to do is run this one more time. All right, it's still not working. Um, New rule violates the row level security policy. Yep. So honestly, this is the first time I use the super base. So let's see some of the policies they do. Okay, so what does that mean? Row level security. Let me just disable that so that we don't need to worry about this whole. I think there's some security constraints. Okay. All right. This one might be better. Okay. So try this one more time. All right. So this time it works. And then what you want to do is go back to the database to check out the tables to see if the things are really there. So go here. Yep, you see the item here. So you got automatic have ID, you have image URL, you have name and price. Okay, so let's try to add more things. So I will do Starbucks. Here, click on add, and then that was successful. So coming back to check, and you have two items. Okay, let's just do a little bit more. We have just a pizza. All right, so we'll put four here for test purpose. All right. Now we need to enable the search function. Right now the search still do the local, okay? I don't need the local anymore. I'll just delete it. Okay, because this one has to come from the database. Okay. Yeah, it's just a very like efficient. Okay, so but I'm gonna try to write it. So superbase dot table, select everything when the price equal to that price to execute. All right, so we're gonna see the results. All right, so the query results equal to this. Okay, and this one is the query result for data. All right, so let's look at this one. The only thing I'm trying to change here previously, all the result coming from the uh that local variable, the list, right? So we iterate those and then we check the price. But right now, it comes from a query. So here's a query. So you go to talk to Superbase, you find the table, you select everything, and then in order to understand the select, you need to know the SQL statement. Okay, that's the database system, what you will learn, the SQL language to do the query. You select everything, and you want to check if the price is equal to that price, and you execute it, that's going to return you everything. Okay, and then you grab everything, you put that into a list, and you return it. So the rest is the same thing. The only difference is now I'm using uh a query statement from database to get it. They also told you that this instead of using equal, you can also use the less than equal, right? Right. So that's how they do the query. All right. So hopefully that works. And I'm gonna stop this one, run this again. All right. So going back here and to the home page. Okay, so I'm gonna do a $10 search. Yeah, so these are the new items that I added. All right, so I do $15 search. You also have a pen option. Okay, I do $5. All right, only one item. Okay, so now if I stop the server, okay, I run this again, everything remains because they're in the database. Okay, the database is the server program right here, and then they handle everything for you. Okay. So once you have the real database, you guys need to decide which one to add. So just some options, okay? Superbase is one. You can do MongoDB. They can also hosting that for you. Previous example, I was using that one. I do suggest you might want to use the NoSQL database because today I just want to try something different. Okay, because the NoSQL database, you don't need to worry about the database schema. Like here, because this one, before I using that, I need to explicitly specify. I have this attribute, the type, attribute, the type. That's how you do define the traditional relational database. You have to define the schema first. But for the new kind of a structure, you don't need to worry about it. You just need to have a key. And the rest you can just add it as it goes. So a little bit more flexible. But they have pros and cons. Okay, but this will be a very good option. Firebase is also a good option if you're familiar with that one. There's other things called a Prisma. This is a little bit similar to Superbase. But yeah, a lot of these are for free. You don't have to pay everything, sign up, they give a database very quickly. As you can see, the program, the way they can talk to them is that you specify that URL for the database and you provide the credentials, you log in. That's how you do it. All right. That's it. So today I really want you to look at, okay, once you have a base, how do you add things incrementally? Features one by one, but most of the features is going to deal with the three tiers. Okay, database, um, the server program, and finally the front end. Okay. However, this time as I was doing this one, you can see that the tool is just getting so much more advanced, so much more advanced. Okay, so a lot of things they can figure out your context, they pop out the code for you. But obviously there is a more advanced version, which is the cloud code. You don't have to open IDE, they just do that very soon for you. But that I think that's kind of against our purpose. Okay, I still want you to see the process, even though the code was generated. Like this one, I just take it. Otherwise, I'll have to do is that I go to Google, I do Superbase, Python, search, like a search. Okay, so I need to find out examples, go here, fetch data. I look at, oh, I need to do table, select, and execute. Okay, and then I'm gonna come back to search to try it. Well, that's just how I do that for the past 10 years. But now, this one just gave it for me. It's very efficient, but the steps are still here. Okay. You got to know that the difference between this code and that code is that this is using a local database, but then this one uses yeah, use a real database. All right. Any questions? All right. So once you really understand the whole structure, and then I think you can use this to just to add more things. At that point, or some point, you guys need to decide when you can start to just fully use cursor, AI, or the tool, whatever you use, okay, to do it. And this is really a very simple example, but if we do some bigger changes, okay, so I would say for we need a full set of admin features. Add, update, delete, and list all of the items. Please change the add.html into admin.html and implement all these features. All right. So something like this, and then they're going to try to understand the whole code base. They rename the file. They can do that for you. And then you can see we'll start, this is renaming, and then they start to add a backend routes for you. So now we only did add, but then they're going to do update, delete, and then list all the items. And then they come up with all this database queries for you. And then they start to create that admin file. And now they create in the JavaScript file with all the support. So they have an admin JavaScript. Where's admin? Yeah, right here. Okay, so see, they got all the function to do with add and query and search. All right, and then they delete all files. So they can just directly operate the files. Okay. But if you done AI, you can't just rely on this one all at once. Okay. A lot of the time, yeah, you get lucky for change like this, it's pretty simple, but a lot of the time you just gotta test this one very carefully. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so go back here and I'm gonna test it. All right, so going back to home page, and then we're gonna go to the admin.html. All right, see, everything is here. So you can see all the items listing. You can just go here to edit it. You gotta fix some of this and then delete those, and you can still add new things. Let's try those. Okay, refresh the list. Okay, I'm gonna add something new. We'll call it Riemann. Okay, so this is 699. URL, add item successfully, and the Riemann was added. All right, so that took us like 1 minute to do it. Well, that's my point. So today you go to work, okay? If you don't use this one, the teammate is going to use this one. There's no way you can compete. Okay, so but at the same time, that also explains why the companies are not really willing to hire a lot of junior developers because clearly, if I already know all this full stack stuff, I can do 10 times more work than before. And the quality is better, less management, much cheaper. The cursor you had to pay a little bit, but that pay compared with like 100K, salary for someone, it's just so cheap. It's almost like nothing. Yeah.
You try using GitHub Copilot?
Yeah. I never used that one, but I assume that's probably give you something similar,
And
right?
is that like worse or better than Cursor?
Oh, for sure, it's worse. Yeah, I never tried the Copilot. I did that in the very early days. It was very disappointing, honestly. They must have done a lot of changes, but in the development field, Cursor was really hot since last year. I know that. And then now the cloud code. I think this is the only tool you need to look into. I haven't heard about any other thing. If you guys saw any other thing, I know Google's Gemini is also getting pretty good, but the key about the cursor is that, as you can see, the cursor doesn't build the models. Cursor uses other models. So if you go here, go to setting, um, they use you can configure what model to use. So they mostly use a cloud model. Normally, cloud model is considered to be the best one for the coding. You can also use a GPT model. You can use DeepSeek, anything. So Cursor, the company, doesn't build the models, okay? But they only build IDEs. That's why the IDE is so cool. You can see that they automatically change all the files, they make all the changes, show that to you. So that whole integration, the whole IDE is actually is pretty nice. Um, so that's the Cursor. Well, I mean, Copilot, I haven't used that for a long time. I used it back in early 2024. It didn't go very well, but maybe that time was too early. But for now,
Use it, right? But it does make like a lot of mistakes, like the agent mode, I guess. So I don't use the agent mode. Is it
oh,
usually
the cursor?
yeah,
No,
on
no.
GitHub Copilot.
Oh, yeah, probably. I don't know. They used to have the agent mode as well here in Cursor, but they all got rid of them. Now you don't have to specify what mode. They just do it for you. Okay. So now let's add a authentication to access the admin portal. All right. And then this is a little bit bigger changes, and they will also pretty much figure out the backend and the database, everything. Yeah, this will be yeah, building a feature like this probably gonna take you at least 1 day to figure out.
Can you use a cloud code within the terminal in the cursor or
Yeah, you can do that. People do that one, but it's not the point because the cloud code doesn't want you to look at the code anymore. Why do you still need to open it? But yeah, if you see a lot of tutorials, you can run the cloud code here in the terminal. Well, the file they're generated, you can still view all the files. But my experience is that you don't need to look at the files. You just talk to the cloud code. Yeah. Even the bug is wrong, something's wrong, you can still um ask them to change. So when you do the authentication, you gotta log out, check the authentication, log in. I do agree that you still need to know very fundamentals. Okay, the three tier, the database, you need to know the concept. That's what a CS major is used for. However, how much more you want to dive into, for example, for authentication? If you say, oh, Professor, I think I still need to understand how the authentication works, all those, I gotta read all the code on the final tutorials. Whether you want to do that much or not, I think it's a very big question because very soon, I think you won't be able to catch up because they're going to generate a lot more things, a lot of new things. Okay, you can't just keep learning like that. At one point, you probably just need to ignore those. That's pretty much my feeling. Previously I often feel that you want to use AI fun, but learn the fundamentals. Um, Now I feel you never get enough time to learn all these fundamentals. Every project they probably will use a lot of different things. Just let it go. Think about this is how the computer science or programming language works. You guys all learned assembly language, right? Yeah. So assembly language is very detailed, very hard to write. Uh, so when you use C, when you run the code, all the C code will be compiled and translated into the assembly code. Okay. But as a C programmer, C++ programmer, you never need to worry about assembly. You don't need to worry about how the memory works. You just write that statement. Okay. Now we use Python. That's even more powerful. Okay. The Python might be converted to C and C to assembly, but you never need to know C in order to read Python. I think here the same case. Now you're just doing the natural language. You don't need to worry about the underlying things. That's kind of my theory. But I honestly don't like that part because if one day everything is natural language, I think then the CS major is going to be in a kind of a big trouble. I think it's already happening. So before it goes too much deeper, you guys gotta be on top of this one and really try to be more experienced. Okay. So let's see if this one works. So I'm gonna stop this and then run this again. I'll keep all, run this. All right, so now see, I go to here, I need to log in. But we don't have a password. Do they provide us a simple password? Okay, admin and admin 1, 2, 3. Okay, so admin, admin 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's not correct. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's correct. And then they direct you here. Okay, so they even give you the the login page. Pretty good. And I think they also connect to the database. If you go back here, let's see what database, which database they use. Okay, let me refresh. Or they may use the authentication feature. Oh wait, so does this one use the or maybe they didn't. They just do the right. It looks like they just do a local database, I guess. Yeah, everything's just local. Okay, so but you can obviously ask to change, okay, to others. All right. Even the UI, I think you can also change. You see, let's improve the index.homepage UI and make it very modern, simple, clean, and professional. So they're going to redesign with the modern UI UX principles, um, update the CSS. And nowadays, if you talk to any of the developers in the industry, everyone is using, okay. And then one part I find that once you start to use all these tools, it's you don't want to go back to the old way because it's just too fast. Okay, that's yeah. Yeah, as I'm talking to you right now, I also I'm not 100% positive, okay? It definitely let us lose some of the advantages from this major. It's definitely getting a lot easier. So we'll see. Okay. But the good thing is that you know you understand this one, you can probably build things better. It does allow you to build more complicated project all on your own. Okay. Nowadays you want to do some kind of a startup, just go over it yourself. It's very doable. Okay. At the end, it's still a problem solving. Okay. Just knowing how to write a code again doesn't give you any success startup. Problem solving, execution, try it. It just give you more opportunities. Okay. So anyway, just before all the other non-CS members know how to do this, you should become the master first. Okay. So this one is done. Let's go back, refresh. Yep. So much better page. Okay, they have a little landing page here, and then we go 5 and then find a meal. And wow, this is so much better, right? So it's a take us like 1 minute to do. All right. All right. Well, hopefully you got some ideas on what to do for the project. Okay. But first of all, you still need to decide the development stack. Um, have a little try, okay? Just based on what I showed you. Try it on your own, build a simple page, simple database, simple functions, simple UIs, and then from there, and then you can decide to go with this. Okay. But as you go with AI, there's still the things I'm demonstrating today is all very simple. Later on, you will see bugs, you will see things not right. You have to go back and forth to iterate on it. Sometimes you still need to manually to debug certain things. And then that's why you got to know how to track the version control everything. So we'll cover those afterwards. Okay. A quick reminder. Next week we come back for the idea pitches. Okay. Don't forget Tuesday. All the team need to come back. All right. So make sure you got your idea finalized as soon as you can. All right. So that's all for today. I'll upload everything to YouTube. All right.